Hey, so today's the 27th of December. You can see my reflection here. You might hear some noise, some sounds from the outside because I literally strapped my phone to the metal railing. That's the word I was looking for. I basically spent the whole morning in bed. I literally didn't come down until 1 p.m. I slept in as much as I could. Around 10:30, my in-laws started doing some stuff downstairs and there was noise outside. I was wearing my loops, but I could still hear a lot of stuff, but I stayed in bed for a while. My partner brought me a cup of tea. I just took my time, took a shower, got ready. I had a bit of a rush of anxiety before coming downstairs. I always have a bit of a rush of anxiety before coming down the stairs and meeting my in-laws for the first time of the day, stuff like that, because like I said, social transitions and stuff, not my thing. So I came downstairs and I helped my partner prepare for our Christmas aperitif, finger foods and spreads and stuff. We got a bunch of vegan stuff. So we had vegan foie gras, we had vegan smoked salmon, meat substitutes, which we don't get on a regular basis. It was the first time that we did this. It was fun. Most of the stuff was really good. And then we had some wine with that. Some bubbly. We chilled. We put a fireplace on the TV. Then we played a game, a simple card game, a party style game. It was more low-key and less demanding than a proper conversation, but I still had to mask quite a bit because, more than yesterday, because I had to interact a lot and I didn't necessarily feel like it, or I didn't necessarily have the energy for it, but I pretended to be more involved in the thing than I really was, and overthinking everything, the hypervigilance aspect of masking. So that was a little bit taxing for me. So after a while, I told my partner I'm taking a break now. I didn't wait until I was past my limits. I anticipated. I was like, I think it's time for me to take a break. So I stepped outside to get some fresh air, hang out with my cat. Came back inside and they had put a movie on the TV, which was a little overstimulating for me. So I ended up coming upstairs for a while, which is what I'm doing now, to recharge while my partner is making our Christmas lunch / dinner, because it's almost very much the middle of the afternoon right now. I'm trying to remember to stim because I didn't stim much when we were playing the game, because there was just not much room for me to do that, and also I was too focused on everything else to remember to stim. I'm chilling and I thought I'd film a quick update. I'm wearing my favorite, basically my only Christmas sweater that I have, that I got from Primark maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I love it. It's so soft. It's like a velvet type texture. Listening to the birds, breathing in some fresh air, stimming, and just enjoying some alone time and recharging before the big, Christmas dinner and opening the gifts and all that. I'll see you later. Today is December 28th. I'm on my own. I didn't think I'd ever crave alone time as much as I did yesterday. So yesterday was our Christmas, family Christmas, if you will. As I predicted, it was a lot more intense than the day before, the day when my in-laws arrived, because we were doing Christmas with family, so there was a lot more interactions, I should say, because that's what it always comes down to, is human interactions. So there's a lot more talking. I just overall participated in a lot more stuff than the days before. the day before because it was a special day and I hadn't anticipated that. You know, I knew it was going to be intense, but it was quite taxing. And like I said previously in this video, I knew there were going to be times that were easier than others during this period. And definitely yesterday was tough. But before I go any further, I wanted to do a mini what I got for Christmas segment, which I've never done before, but obviously. So I thought it would be fun. It's not so much like what I got for Christmas, it's like my favorite things I got for Christmas, because I'm not going to show everything. The first thing is I got some fidgets from my partner, which was what I asked for. So the first thing I got was play foam. I don't have the whole packaging with all of the different colors because it's upstairs, but I keep my favorite colors, which is my favorite color in the play foam box, which is a mix of purple and blue that I mixed together. I keep it in this Tupperware box. So that's been a lot of fun. I've been playing with that a lot. I've been seeing so much about play foam over the years, especially in all the ASMR videos that I watch, because it makes great sounds. So I was really happy about that. The other fidget I got is this infinity cube, but it's a metal one. So it's really cool. It makes a really cool sound. Like clickety clack. It's got a really good weight to it as well. So that's great. I've been playing with that a lot. And then from my in-laws, I got these super cute kitty socks. So many different ones. So I love socks personally. I think you can never have too many socks. So that's great. And then also from my in-laws, I got this sweater. I think it's cold. And it says, proud member of the Fantasy Readers Society, Dragons, Wizards, and Epic Tales, lost in fantasy, found in books. Because one of my main special interests is fantasy. And I love it. Even though I wouldn't consider myself a huge reader, I'm more of a consumer of fantasy across different genres, not just books, because I'm a pretty slow reader. And yeah, I've talked about my reading struggles in the past, but it doesn't put too strong of an emphasis on books specifically, because it says fantasy and like in big letters, and there's dragons and stuff. So I love that. It's got to do with my special interests. I got my partner and my in-laws some really cute Christmas ornaments. I'm not gonna show the ones that I got my family because it's got their names on it, but I'm gonna show mine. So it's a good little Christmas ornament. It's made of wood and there's different motifs, different designs, and you put your name in there. And those are the ones for our kitties. So I got ones made for me and my partner, our cats, and then I got ones for my in-laws and their cats as well. Their 2 cats. So yeah, that's Christmas. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what happened yesterday. Well, nothing happened, you know, but it was a little bit of a struggle. As I predicted, I had to mask more, I had to interact more, and being in burnout, having such little mental capacity, it was kind of it was tricky for me. I didn't have the energy for all that happened yesterday. I didn't have the energy to mask. I didn't have the energy to talk much. And unfortunately, what I had been doing the day before, which was to kind of not interact with people much, and so they didn't interact in return, and I was kind of doing my own thing, and it was great. It didn't really work yesterday because obviously, like I said, because it was a special day, I felt like I had to participate more, and like we played a card game, and so it got me talking much more than the day before. And then I feel like that kind of sent a signal to my in-laws that, oh, it's fine, we can talk to her again, which was what I dreaded. I could have said like, I don't have the energy for talking. I'm not great at communicating these types of things, mostly because when I try to do it, it doesn't come out as I intended, and so people tend to get offended, and then I have to justify and explain, and it just becomes a much bigger thing than it needs to be. So sometimes I'd rather just not say it in words and just communicate it in a non-verbal way, I guess. So in my last clip, I was taking a break yesterday away from family, and yeah, I took a good long break. Oh yeah, and then we had our Christmas meal, which was really good. But at that point, I was really tired. I only managed to like sit at the table maybe half an hour, just enough time to eat my plate basically. And I didn't talk much. And like we had decided about the table arrangements with my partner, that the table arrangement that would be the least stressful for me was to sit next to my mother-in-law, and then I have my partner in front of me, and then my father-in-law kind of at a diagonal, because my mother-in-law is definitely the most intense. You know, like she's the one who interacts the most. Like my father-in-law doesn't talk much and like rarely ever addresses me directly, so I knew it wasn't gonna be too much of a struggle if I had my partner and my father-in-law in front of me. And since my mother-in-law was next to me, like we weren't looking at each other as much. Like I know it sounds like really like small details and like why would it matter? But to me those things can really make a difference in how comfortable or uncomfortable I am in those situations. So that was great. And I was we have a gaming chair at the dining table, and so it's a lot more comfortable for me to sit in. So yeah, I stayed until I finished my plate, and then I moved to the couch while my partner and my in-laws stayed at the table, and I just hung out here, basically hung out. Yeah, and then after a while, hang on, I feel like I have a blank. I can't remember everything that happened yesterday. So after that, we continued our fantasy movie marathon, which is great. It's always a good way for me to spend time with family, but without it being too taxing. Kind of in the middle of it, we stopped and did the Christmas gift exchange, which was a little bit overwhelming. Obviously, I'm very grateful for everything that I got, and I enjoyed seeing people's reactions to what I got them. Again, I didn't have the energy for it, and so obviously, like I've talked about this before, but gift exchanges tend to be stressful for autistic people because it requires to react in a certain way so people know that you're grateful, or you know, so it requires some level of masking that I really didn't have the energy to do when I opened gifts and stuff. Well, we all opened them at the same time, so the focus wasn't, you know, I didn't feel as perceived. But when I open gifts, I tend to like stick this half smile on my face. Otherwise, I feel like my face looks too serious, inexpressive. And then I did like one big thank you at the end, so I didn't have to say thank you every single time I opened something. And like again in writing, I've been trying to communicate more through writing on the group chat, which is great because it's always easier for me to express myself in writing. Then we resumed the movie, and by that point I was really exhausted, and I really couldn't handle talking to people and all that good stuff. So as soon as the movie was over, or even before the movie was over, I made some noodle soup, like vermicelli soup, which is one of my comfort foods, and went to bed. like the day before, I texted everyone saying good night and there's some soup if you want some, and have a good weekend. And last night I was really like, despite being exhausted, that's the thing, is I feel like in this phase of burnout, I don't have as much physical fatigue. I still do very much. But compared to how I was feeling in November, for example, I have a lot more physical energy, but the mental fatigue, like I really can't tolerate much. And that's like, right now, that I feel like that's what's most debilitating for me, isn't so much the physical fatigue is the mental fatigue. And so last night I was, even though I felt really tired, I was like, I could tell that my nervous system was dysregulated. Yeah, I felt I was in fight or flight, and so it took me a while to unwind. And my partner was on edge as well, because he had been doing a lot. He had been cooking the meal all by himself because I didn't have the energy to help him. We knew that he was gonna have to do a lot with my in-laws visiting, because I told him that I couldn't do much in my current condition, and he was like, that's fine, I'll take care of it. But of course I was stressed about him pushing too hard, and because he is also kind of in a, well, he's in a similar situation to mine, where he's been in a kind of a chronic burnout for years, but like not, kind of like what I had before it got bad this year, kind of like a low grade burnout, if there's such a thing, like feeling more tired than usual but still being able to function. And like lately it's gotten a little harder for him, because you know, he got fired from his job. That kind of disrupted all his routine, as one of you said in the comments. And so he's been struggling more than usual, and because I haven't been able to do as much as usual, he's been having to do more to compensate. And yeah, I'm a little worried about his health, which is why I'm reminding him to take it easy and like take time to rest. Unfortunately, his parents aren't very understanding. I don't think it's there's any ill intent. It's just that my partner tends to internalize a lot his struggles and, you know, mask. So he will not necessarily show or tell that he is tired or overwhelmed. You can kind of tell, obviously, in his behavior. But like, I guess my in-laws, you know, they're new to the whole autism ADHD diagnosis, and they don't really understand that, or they don't want to understand, I don't know, that my partner also gets tired and overwhelmed like me. I feel like sometimes they're more understanding of me than they are of their own son, which I think is really unfair. My father-in-law is actually my partner's stepdad, not his actual dad, but you know, he's known him since he was little. So yeah, that's kind of hard to watch sometimes, is seeing my partner having to do all this stuff because I don't have the energy to help, and then getting tired and stressed, and my in-laws putting pressure on him on top of that, or not being understanding when he says that he needs a break or whatever. Like, that's hard to watch. We're working on getting them to respect our boundaries more. I feel like most people just don't learn to do that kind of stuff. And so yeah, it can be difficult to make that transition. They left this morning. I didn't come downstairs until after they left, because I really couldn't handle to see anyone today. I'm so thankful that we decided to organize this 2-day trip for my in-laws and my partner, because I really needed this time alone. You all know, if you're autistic, the best way to recharge is to be alone. And that's what kept me sane yesterday, was the knowledge that I was gonna have the weekend on my own. Well, not the whole weekend, but basically until tomorrow in the afternoon. Hopefully as late as possible. I'm gonna be on my own. So yeah, that's what kept me going yesterday, because I was like, soon they'll be gone, soon they'll be gone. Yeah, I just couldn't deal with any more socializing. It was too much. Like, I'm trying to understand why it's so hard for me. I think there's an element of PDA on top of the mask, I think. I'm still figuring it out, but it feels like PDA. And I haven't heard a lot of people talk about PDA in social interactions. So that's something I'd be interested in researching more or understanding more. But yeah, I guess I feel pressured in social interactions to do the social interaction in a certain way, to reply certain things at certain times with a certain tone. That pressure to do these things just makes the words not it makes the words not want to come out. In another video I talked about this in the context of like saying hello and goodbye and stuff, but even in the middle, like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't even know, it's very blurry. Someone will ask me something and then I feel pressured to answer a certain thing a certain way, and my PDA gets triggered, I guess, and then I'm like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to answer this, but I have to. So then it comes out not how it would come out normally if my PDA wasn't being triggered. Does that make sense? Which is why I have an easier time saying things without being prompted, like making comments, making jokes, because I have my own autonomy. Whereas if I have to respond to someone, it triggers my PDA, and then it's like I will make my answers as short as possible. I'll probably not speak loud enough so they'll ask me to repeat myself, which makes it even worse. And my tone of voice will be very like blunt. Yeah, and then people are put off because 5 seconds ago I was making a very animated joke to my partner and we were laughing, and then this person asked me something and I give a very short, blunt answer. I don't know, I can see why it must be super confusing to people. It's confusing to me as well. I wish I was different sometimes, you know, like in those moments I'm like, why does it have to be so hard for me? And there's no way I could possibly try to explain that to the people I'm talking to. Like, I don't see myself being like, by the way, if I give short, blunt answers and I look pissed off, it's nothing against you, it's just my PDA is getting triggered and they have no idea what PDA is. And if I try to explain it, it sounds like an excuse for a bad personality trait, which it isn't. But if you don't know anything about autism, ADHD and stuff, it sounds like an excuse, you know what I mean? And then I don't have the energy to explain. So then I'm stuck with, I don't know, it's such a struggle. What's your experience with PDA and social interactions? Like I said, I haven't had a lot of people talk about this. I feel pretty alone in this. So if any of you relate somehow, please let me know so I feel less alone, because it sucks. It sucks to be me sometimes, because, you know, like, everyone's having a good time. Nothing objectively bad is happening. And I'm over here being super stressed with my nervous system on high alert, my PDA getting constantly triggered, and, you know, and I'm not having a good time. Everyone else is, but I'm not. And it sucks. It fucking sucks. I hate it so much. And I wish I was autistic in those moments, or that I didn't have these specific autistic struggles in those moments. And those are the types of things that, to me, reflect my higher support needs. Because if I really compare myself to my partner, it's obvious, even from the outside, even if you don't know anything about us, it's obvious how much more support needs I have compared to my partner. Like, it will be taxing for my partner because he is still ADHD, but he can handle those interactions. Then he'll need time to recover afterwards, but he can handle them. and he can pass as neurotypical, whereas I can't, no matter how hard I try. There are so many complexities and nuances and subtleties in my social struggles that I'm still trying to understand. Honestly, on days like yesterday, I feel a little bit desperate because I'm like, will it ever get easier? Like 2 days ago was fine because I didn't talk to anybody. And if it happened 2 days ago, it can happen again, you know? That's what's giving me hope. But will people understand when it's outside of the context of burnout? And do they need to understand? Or do they just have to accept? And how okay am I with that? You know, it's all these things I'm trying to figure out because I desperately want these family moments to feel easier for me, you know, because I just want to have a good time, you know. I like spending time with loved ones. I like the feeling of belonging and the feeling of warmth that comes with family. And like, I know I'll have my own family. I mean, I already have my own family with my partner and my cats, and then when we have kids and stuff. But I I don't want to suffer so much every time I see anyone else apart from my partner. You know, anytime I spend time with anyone else, I wish it was easier for me. It will take a long time to figure out the best way to spend those moments. And maybe I'll need some external help from therapists. I actually heard about a therapist in France who like specializes in neurodivergence and LGBT people, and he seems a lot better than the therapist I went to see at the end of October. He was actually, his contact was shared on a autistic adult Facebook group that I joined in France. So those kinds of things give me hope that one day I can find a therapist who understands and who, you know, but I have no idea if he's covered by insurance, and you know, he is quite far from where I live, so you know, I don't know when I'll get to have a therapist who can actually help me that I can afford, you know, like I don't know when that will happen, but I think that I'll probably, like, this is a riddle that I've been trying to solve for years. Even before I was diagnosed, I was desperately trying to figure out how can I have an easier time spending time with family, socializing in general, you know, but I don't really socialize much outside of spending time with my in-laws, so this is my main focus. But yeah, it's coming to a point, it's getting to a point where I avoid it as much as possible. I mean, this is only the second time that I'm seeing my in-laws this year, and it's already too much for me, and I can't avoid them forever. I will always have to, there will always be moments where I have to see them, spend time with them. And since we live in a different country, when they visit or when we visit them, it's not just for a day or two, you know, because you gotta make it worth the trip. I'm always gonna have to see them, to spend time with them at least once or twice a year. I wish I didn't have an existential crisis every time it happens, you know? I wish it was just slightly easier for me and did not make me want to crawl into a hole in the ground and never come out again. Is this still recording? Hopefully it is. So that's where I'm at today. I'm really gonna make the most of having the whole house to myself. Probably edit this video, maybe watch a movie, maybe go for a walk, just whatever I need to ground myself. Stim also, because of masking, like obviously when I'm around my in-laws, when I'm around people, you know, I don't stim as much as I do when I'm on my own or with my partner. So I have to consciously remind myself to stim because my body automatically gets into a state of like stillness that isn't helping me. It doesn't help me regulate my nervous system. So I'm gonna remember to actively stim to, you know, somewhat regulate my nervous system before they come back tomorrow, and then they're gonna stay at our house for another 6 days. And I already know that most of those 6 days I'm gonna spend up in my room. And I'm not looking forward to it because it's not fun feeling like you have to hide in your room in your own house. But that's just the way it is. And also something I'm really gonna be enjoying today is some quiet, some calm and quiet. Because the constant chattering, like if it was just me, my partner, and my father-in-law, it would be fine because we don't talk that much. But my mother-in-law is such a chatterbox. I don't think I've ever met someone who talks as much as she does. Like my partner was saying to me yesterday how it seems like she basically says everything that crosses her mind, and that might be an indication that she's autistic as well, is that it seems like she has no filter of like that's something you should keep to yourself, that's something you should say out loud. And like any thought that crosses her mind about, you know, what's happening, the movie we're watching, just anything that crosses her mind, she says it out loud. And that means that she talks non-stop. Non-stop. Except like there will be like maybe 5 minutes during a movie where she's not talking, and those are moments of bliss. But the rest of the time she's talking, and she's not only talking, she also demands answers from people, you know. And the three of us are, you know, tired, and so we answer in very minimalistic ways. Sometimes that frustrates her, and then she insists or she rephrases it in a way that gets us to answer it in a more elaborate way. Like, it's so bad. She's a mystery to me. Like, I've known her for 9 years, and I still struggle to understand her. And it bothers me because I need things to make sense. Like a lot of us autistic people, I need things to make sense. I need to understand things, and I need the truth of the matter, and I need facts. And I can't get any of that with my mother-in-law. She's a true mystery to me. Like, in some ways, she's very autistic. She's very sensitive to smells. She can be blunt and like say things that can be hurtful without realizing or without intending to hurt the other person. She makes really intense eye contact. Like, she tends to talk nonstop about the things she's passionate about, you know. And that thing I talked about where she says everything that crosses her mind without any filter. Like, there are a lot of things that make us feel like there's a good chance she might be autistic, because my partner is autistic as well, also stims as well. But on the other hand, there are aspects of her that scream neurotypicality, and we have a hard time figuring out whether it's because she's not autistic or because she is super high masking. And that's the conclusion I've reached, basically, is that she's either not autistic or she's autistic, but she's super high masking because she's 60 years old. So, you know, I haven't met a lot of people who were diagnosed that late in life, past 60 years old, but I would imagine that if they made it to that age without getting a diagnosis, they're probably very high masking, and they probably don't realize it. She also had pretty extensive childhood trauma that I'm not going to talk about, obviously, because it's her personal life. But that kind of makes it harder to figure things out as well. I don't know. I wish it didn't bother me. I wish it didn't bother me as much as it does, but I need the truth. I need to know if she's a fellow autistic or not. And it's not gonna change our relationship, I don't think, but I don't know. My brain needs to make sense of things, and I can't make sense of her a lot of the time. That's also something that's often on my mind, especially when I see her as like trying to understand her. And she seems kind of open to the idea that she might be autistic, and she does say that she identifies with some aspects of autism, but I feel like she's not ready to consider, like seriously consider, the fact that she might be autistic or even getting a diagnosis. I don't know if she'll ever be ready for that, and that's her choice, that's her life, you know. Getting a diagnosis isn't for everyone. Some autistic people will never get diagnosed in their lifetime, and I'm pretty sure some of them find ways to live a good life without necessarily understanding their differences. It depends on the autistic person, depends on your presentation of autism. But yeah, so I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I don't know when this video will ever end. I just keep adding clips. We'll see. Maybe I'll end it once my in-laws are gone in early January and just post it in like 2 or 3 parts because it's gonna be really long. But yeah, I think it's important to document these moments, at least for myself, and if it helps anyone else, good, because it's a real struggle for me. It's a real source of distress, and I want it to get easier. So this is my process. This is my journey. And getting my diagnosis and having that understanding of myself already helps so much, because I understand why I have some of these struggles. Like I said, because of PDA, because of masking and stuff. I already have so much more understanding, but there are still things I don't understand, and I still haven't figured out ways to make socializing more bearable for myself. And maybe I'll never figure it out completely. Maybe the only solution is to do it in small doses, and like there's no other way. And it will never be very comfortable. Maybe that's what I need to come to terms with, is that it will, obviously I'll always be autistic. It will never get as easy as it is for a neurotypical person, obviously. But maybe I can find accommodations, arrangements, ways to make it just slightly easier for myself. Because honestly, it's one of the main things that put me in this burnout in the first place. So I gotta find ways to do this that don't hurt my health long term, you know? Ways to make this sustainable in the long run. Alright, I'll talk to you later. So today is December 30th. Tomorrow is the last day of 2024. That's crazy. So yesterday, my in-laws and my partner got back around 6 p.m., which was good because that meant I had almost 2 entire days to myself, which was really good. It allowed me to recharge, so that was nice. Obviously, again, like before they arrived, I felt like a rush of adrenaline, anxiety, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's just my body bracing itself, almost like there's some type of danger approaching, and so I brace myself, I get ready for that. My body starts getting into that fight or flight mode. It's definitely a trauma response, I guess, because my brain doesn't register my in-laws as safe people the way my partner is, for example. And so because I know that I'm not completely safe, or I can't completely be myself, or I don't know exactly what to expect before they arrive, or before we meet them, like I have this thing of like I feel my body getting stressed, like my heart rate increases. I sweat because I sweat a lot when I'm stressed, and then I stink. Obviously I smell of BO, even though I showered, put on deodorant, and clean clothes that day, I still stink like hell when I'm stressed, which is great. It's actually one of the biggest indicators of stress for me. And yeah, like I can feel that I don't know, like I said, I'm in this fight or flight mode and I can't think straight. Like I was yesterday before they arrived towards the end of the afternoon. I felt almost like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was watching a show to kind of chill and relax, but I was like walking through the house trying to figure out everything I wanted to do before they got back, because when they're here, like I said, I'm in like this survival mode where I can't really think straight. I can't really my mind is so focused on the fact that there's people in my house, and like having to navigate all that I just struggle to remember what needs to be done, so I was trying to get done as much as possible before they arrived, and I was just feeling kind of lost and confused, also because of something else I didn't mention earlier, but it definitely plays a role, is that obviously when people visit us, our routine gets completely scrambled. And I think it's one of the things that I didn't consider how much of an impact it had on me before I knew I was autistic. Because again, just like with, sensory sensitivities and everything, like I had no reason to believe that it could affect me. Like I had no reason to believe that some people were more affected by changes in routine than other people, so. But yeah, my partner and I have been feeling it. And it isn't as bad as when we go to their house. Like, we're still in our house, so some of our routine still exists. But yeah, like, obviously, we don't do the same things that we would do if it was just the two of us. So yeah, there's that creates this kind of like, it's like you lose your landmarks, you lose the things that anchor you lose your anchor, the things that keep you grounded, keep you at peace, keep you regulated. You lose some of that, so that's just an added stress. So yeah, they arrived yesterday and we had dinner. Basically anytime we have a meal, we'll sit around the table, and like I don't know if you can hear them talking right now, but like I don't know if they realize, but like they're talking so loud and they don't get it. They don't understand that it bothers me. Anyway, that's a problem for another day. But yeah, so anytime we sit around the table, I'm basically wearing my headphones. I'm not listening to a word of the conversation, and I'm eating my food, and then I don't say a word, and then as soon as I'm done with my food, I leave the table and I go back to the couch. And it goes against everything I was taught growing up. Like, if my parents could see me, my abusive, undiagnosed neurodivergent parents, they would be so appalled. They would be like they would think I was so rude. Obviously, I'm not, and my in-laws know I'm not, now that, I've been trying to drill it into their heads that this is just how I will function. Allowing myself to do these kinds of things makes a major difference for me. It's like, it's an accommodation at this point. Oh, and something else I didn't mention is, before they came back yesterday, I sent a message on the group chat, which is my new favorite way to communicate, because I kind of wanted to preface the next 6 days,